It is not surprising that the image of the shepherd was frequently upon the lips of Jesus. It was a part of his heritage and culture. Abraham, the father of the nations, was the keeper of great flocks. Moses was tending the flocks of his father-in-law Jethro, where he received the call from God. David was a shepherd boy called in from the fields to be the king of Israel. Even the literature of the day was filled with the imagery of shepherd. Psalm 23, for example, is frequently referred to as the shepherd psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He gives me repose in the fresh and green pastures. He leads me to restful waters. When Isaiah spoke of the coming of the Messiah, he worded it by saying, He will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will gather his lambs in his arms. Yes, the tradition of the shepherd was very much a part of the heritage of Christ. This picture comes more clearly into focus in the New Testament. Jesus once told a story about a shepherd who had 100 sheep, but one of them went astray. In our way of thinking, a 99% return on our investment would be most desirable, but not for this shepherd. He left the 99 to go in search of that one lost sheep. Later, when Jesus was speaking to the great throng of people, Mark tells us that he had compassion upon them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Throughout the Judeo-Christian faith, the image of the shepherd has been stamped upon our thinking. In the scripture text we are reflecting on, Jesus again taps into that imagery when he refers to himself as the Good Shepherd. For a few moments today, I would like for us to examine together what he had in mind when he described himself as the Good Shepherd. First, let us look at the good and bad shepherd. A friend of mine went to buy a wedding ring for his to-be wife. He wanted to buy a very expensive pure gold ring. He approached the dealer and the deal was done. He then asked the dealer, "Do you think that this ring and the simple 1-carat ring looks the same?" The dealer said, "Come around here and look at this. I want to show you something." He put the light on the 2 rings, the one my friend had just bought and the other fake gold ring. Then he gave him his jeweler's glasses. He said, "Look at the cheap imitation and look at what you have just bought." And when he did, he was amazed. The ring my friend bought sparkled. The fake one was dull and had no luster. Jesus said, "Now there are 2 shepherds. Outwardly there seemed to be no difference. The skin of both had been tanned by the sun and weathered by the wind. They both carry a blanket to keep them warm at night. Both carry a shepherd's crook, but one is a genuine shepherd and the other is a counterfeit or fake shepherd. One is a shepherd in his heart, the other is a hired shepherd. On an ordinary day, you could never tell them apart. But let trouble come, let a pack of wolves appear, and then the difference comes out. The fake shepherd runs because it is only money to him. He has no ownership. But the real shepherd stays. Jesus said in our text, "I lay down my life for my sheep." That is the difference between a real shepherd and a fake shepherd. Here is the good news, friends. I don't care how much trouble comes your way. The good shepherd will never leave your side. He will not desert you in times of trial. That is news that will let you get through the night. That is news that will enable you to keep your sanity. Second, I think that the Good Shepherd knows his sheep. Sir George Adam Smith tells of being in the Holy Land many years ago. He saw several different flocks of sheep, all huddled together at a water hole. They all looked alike to him. It was simply a mass of white wool. He wondered how the shepherds would ever separate them out. At the appropriate time, however, each shepherd gave his own unique call, and in orderly fashion the sheep divided. Perhaps that is what the Good Shepherd meant when he said, "I know my sheep and my sheep know me." It strikes me as a rather comforting thought that the great creator of the cosmos knows me by name. He knows my situation. Oh, I know that there are those who scoff that the great prime mover of the universe could also be a caring shepherd. But I simply look at the words of the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep. Jesus said, "My sheep know me." The question is, are we attuned to God's special whisper? I suppose all of us have seen the painting done in the 1930s of a dog looking with a cocked head at an old RCA phonograph. The name of the painting is The Master's Voice. I know that in my life, I have not always recognized my Master's voice. I have been too busy, too preoccupied, too self-centered. Sometimes, frankly, I am afraid to hear his voice, for I know that he will say what I may not want to hear. But I know that it is important for me to hear once again in the words of the Good Shepherd, "I know my sheep and my sheep know me." The Good Shepherd also includes other sheep. Jesus said, "I have other sheep too, and they are not of this fold. I must bring them in also." Now here is the question we need to ask. What is an oxymoron? An oxymoron is a combination of contradictory terms, seemingly cancelling each other out. For example, bittersweet or friendly fight, authentic reproduction. Let me give you another, Good Shepherd. Certainly, to the modern ear, there is nothing contradictory about that until we learn that in the ancient world, shepherding was really not considered the romantic, humble occupation that we think of it today. Shepherds were looked upon often as gypsies are looked upon in some parts of India today. They were dirty, thieves. So despised were shepherds that under Jewish law, a shepherd could not be a witness in a trial. They were notorious liars. Just when we think we have got shepherds figured out, Jesus throws us for a loop and uses the term Good Shepherd. You see, in God's flock, there are going to be so many people that you do not expect. There are some people who are not of my fold, and of course, he is speaking of the Gentiles, and I must bring them in too. This shepherd is an inclusive shepherd. In John Drinkwater's historical drama Abraham Lincoln, a woman says to Lincoln, "Mr. President, have you heard the good news? In the latest battle, we suffered 800 casualties and the enemy 2,700. How splendid!" "Splendid," replied Lincoln. "That 3,500 souls are lost?" "Oh, Mr. President," she said, "you must not look at it in that way. Only 800 of them counted." Lincoln replied, "Madam, the world is much bigger than your heart. We have a good shepherd who is inclusive." The good shepherd also sacrifices. Jesus worded it in this way: the shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. Lay down your life for a worthless animal? It hardly seems reasonable. That is, until we remember that we are the sheep that he is talking about. We are the worthless ones. It is called atonement, the shedding of one's blood on behalf of another who does not deserve it. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. You do not have a life worth living for if you do not have a cause worth dying for. If we are to follow the shepherding model as laid down by Christ, then sacrifice must be a part of our faith. It means that the church must now lay down her life for a worthless and undeserving society. It is not enough that we simply remain sheep. Christ is calling us into the role of a shepherd. Jesus asked Simon Peter one day, "Peter, do you love me?" "Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Then came the reply, "Feed my sheep." If we are to be faithful, there is no alternative. Praise be Jesus Christ.